Hello, my name is Aaron Dismuke. Wait, did the hello go through? I'm gonna assume it did. Okay, everything's fine. I'm gonna keep talking. Hi, my name is Aaron Dismuke. I'm a voice actor. You may know me as Senku Ishigami in Dr. Stone, Tamaki Yamajiki in My Hero Academia, or Alphonse Elric in Full Metal Alchemist. You are watching the Points of Experience podcast.
Today on the Points of Experience podcast, as you just heard, we have one of the... He just seems like such a genuinely sincere, gentle, kind, empathetic, talented, like a real person who cares and loves about what they do. The multi-talented Aaron Dismuke on the Points of Experience podcast. You all might know him as Alphonse Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, or Dr. Stone, My Hero Academia, and many, many more titles. It has been such an honor and a privilege to talk to Aaron. We talk about his start, being a child actor, essentially, and continuing to grow into an amazing human being, and falling in love with voice acting and becoming a director and script adapter, talking about his struggles with some complications he had with his voice. This was a really, really great episode with Aaron, to talk with someone with so sincerely and genuinely about, that experience with their voice and the implications it had on their career, as well as just kind of our mutual love for video games and how that shaped us as children / becoming actors. It's a really, really great one. I love this. I really love this. And again, y'all, if you haven't reviewed us on the Spotify, Apple, Tunes, YouTube, whatever it is, make sure you leave a 5-star or whatever star you believe that these episodes are in value, and review all that stuff. Go ahead, smash every button that's in your vicinity. Enjoy this one, Aaron Dismuke on Points of Experience podcast. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us on the show. You have been somebody, we created a very early list in the inception of this podcast, and your name was from like the very early sheet, the Excel spreadsheet that we had, and we've had a couple of your friends and colleagues on, and your name just kept coming up, and I'm like, all right, it's about time. We're 30 plus episodes deep. Let's finally reach out to Aaron. So Thank you for answering my cold, blind email to you, as Gabe Kunda, who was a previous guest of ours, once did to you before. So I really appreciate that.
That's I'm so glad to hear Gabe that Gabe was on your podcast. Yeah, that was he reached out, with just a cold email, but it was super professional, and the voice reel on it was, he just brought something that I hadn't heard anyone else do ever.
Can you talk a little bit about that? We'll probably jump back to the beginning of your life very shortly, but just since we're here, what is that like for you, especially somebody who is working, at Funimation, I'm assuming at the time, and you've probably gotten many emails similar to his before, definitely blind, having either tried something random or they found it through a friend, like receiving an email like that. What is it that sets somebody apart, like Gabe or anybody else, that you're like, that's something I'm going to take seriously amongst probably hundreds of fan submissions and whatever else you might receive? What is it that actually translates to, okay, this is somebody who I'm going to take seriously and I want to take a chance on?
He was concise. He valued my time with his email, but he also took care, sort of like you did, to establish his credentials, and say, look, I'm working, I'm not working in anime, but I'm working. And he had this quick list of his sort of highlights on what he'd done before. And then, I'd love it if you'd give this a listen. I'd love to audition for you if you did it, if you like it. And honestly, if somebody gets to the point where they're in my inbox and they have a voice reel, I will listen to at least the first 5 seconds of it. But that first 5 seconds is super crucial. So that's where... That's your chance to hook me. And I think that with him, one of the things that made him hook me was, he's skilled. Like, he has the skill as an actor. But he also just has like a rare voice print. And so he's someone who I've always thought like should be in the industry. You know, he's ended up doing so many cool like trailers with like the super deep voice.
Yeah.
The first guy that I had him do was this sort of like cool laid back guy, and you know, he had sort of a radio voice at the time because he hadn't done much anime before or video games even, to my knowledge. And so I was like, this radio thing kind of works with this laid back guy who I know isn't gonna like, you know, scream or turn into a chibi person or anything like that. And so there was also just a role that felt right for it. So it was just sort of everything lined up, you know?
Wow. Yeah. That's something I always try to talk about is, I mean, it's that age old saying, or maybe it's not age old. I hear it a lot recently, like the talent and preparation meets the opportunity. So him sending that email in the right way at the right time, having the skill to back it up, you having something you were working on that's like, it's all right fit. It almost seems like fate or divine in some way, but I feel like you have to be working multiple avenues at all. You know, you have to make sure that you're doing everything you can on your end and also trying to find the right people that you might be an asset to. And I guess that's what happened for him.
I'd love to ask him how many directors at Funimation he sent those cold emails to, you know?
Right.
Because it seems like it was like fate that it worked out, that it just happened. He was in the right place at the right time. But he was putting himself in situations, you know, if you throw the fishing reel 20 times, you know, one time it will be that right place, right time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Does it excite you to, like, maybe these are both separate things, but does it excite you to work with new talent, or is there, do you have more of a comfortability working with somebody who's like really established and you're like, yeah, I'm really excited to work with this person who's been killing it and see what they bring that I have no idea how to even tame that wild beast? Like which is one or more of the preferences that you might have?
I think, something really common with new directors, and this was true for me for sure, is that we know that if we use someone who's new, then they will respect us as being an authority on the subject. You know, they'll take direction because we have more experience than them. And it's a little bit stranger, you know, when I think I was 24 the first time that I directed Eric Vale, who
I know Eric,
who was, and, you know, I was subbing in. So I'm not the director who cast him. I'm not the authority on the subject to him. And so what do I have to teach him whenever he was acting, you know, on the day I was born?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's true, but
it might be close. Who knows? When did Dragon Ball Z come out, right? Yeah. When was this first?
He was definitely acting when I was like 5. So there's that. Not to try to make Eric Vale sound old. He looks great.
He does look great. And he's a great guy. And a funny story about Eric Vale real quick is that he was one of the first people when I was starting out and extremely blind about how to navigate into the anime industry. He hopped on a Zoom call with me, and I think I might have spoken about this before, but he was like one of the only, again, sending out 100 emails. Eric was like, this kid seems to be having some sense of what he's doing. This was probably 10 years ago at the time.
Gotcha.
And he responded. He had a whole freaking Zoom call with me talking to me about his movie he made about him on a plane, or that, I don't know what it was. It's like a plane movie he had done. That's all I really remember. But great guy, fantastic guy.
Yeah. But, you know, you can be intimidated whenever you're directing someone more experienced than you. So I've noticed that newer directors tend to cast newer actors. And I think part of it is because it's feels safer in terms of just like having someone be willing to take your direction. But then also it's just kind of exciting to be able to bring new people in. You know, you see talent all the time whenever you're an actor, and you're like, gosh, like I'll watch a play and I'll be like, gosh, I wish that person, like, they have such a cool voice and they did such a great performance in this piece of community theater. They probably didn't get paid a dime. I would love to see them in anime. And then you get the chance to bring them in. And then you find out sight reading is not their forte, you know? And I do think where I'm at these days is it kind of depends on the show. I think that there are shows where I want to test out actors who have not done voiceover before, and there are roles that are better for newer actors. You know, smaller characters, and it's not just about the size; it's also about how much range that character has. You know, I look for certain characters that are like sort of deadpan, and I'm like, that's a great place to start with somebody who's never done flaps before. So now I'm more limited. I like to use experienced voice actors, and I've realized nowadays that there are a lot of experienced voice actors who are underused. And so I think, these days I'm less prone to use a lot of new people than I was. I also don't direct that much anymore, I should mention.
Sure.
The last show I directed, I ended up directing season 1 of Kaguya-sama Love is War, because Morgan Le Ray, the director who cast it and directed season 2, which we recorded first because simuldubs, she wasn't able to do it, and so I just filled in for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's also very interesting. I mean, what was it about directing at that time, or what is it about directing right now, or is it just kind of happenstance, or is it where you are in your life where you're either probably more focused on the acting portion of things? What has been the journey through directing versus acting and where you are today?
Okay, so big question in my life. You know, I started voice acting when I was 9 years old. I was in Fruits Basket. And my great talent was being biologically male and prepubescent. And so I sounded more like a 9-year-old boy than any adult woman could.
Yeah.
So from that age, I was acting. But I was aware of the fact that most child actors don't end up becoming, balanced human beings, for one thing. But become prominent full-time actors. Like, they don't end up being adult actors a lot of the time. And so I kind of didn't want to put all my eggs in that basket. And then right around, I got Full Metal Alchemist, and I figured that was the highlight, and that was going to be, just something cool that I could mention every now and then to folks. But I really didn't see a career path in it until after college, whenever I won a short story competition that my college did. And then my dad suggested that I send that to Funimation. And that got me into adaptive writing for anime dubs. And then Tyler Walker, who I was doing scripts for Fairy Tail, he was like, hey, you're doing really good work with the script stuff. Would you like to assistant direct for me? I should mention, he's the third... He was the third director who asked me if I would be their assistant director. The first two, I was like, oh gosh. And it made me nervous, the thought of it. I was also working as a waiter at the time at Papa's Burgers. And the first two, I was like, I'd love to do it, but only if you think I'm ready. I'm not sure if I'm experienced enough, but I'll totally do it if you'd like me to. And then they didn't hit me up again because I voice nervousness. And then when Tyler brought it up, he sort of sold me on myself, if that makes sense. He was like,
sure,
you have a really good knowledge of these characters, and so I'd like you to assistant direct for me. And I thought about the other 2 times that I'd been asked, and I was like, okay, yes, I will do that. And I did not say, I don't think I'm experienced enough.
So you were already dogging yourself before you even gave yourself a chance to even try something you've never tried before.
Yeah. And up to that point, up to where I had directing as an option and script adaptation as an option, I was trying to be pragmatic about the fact that actors can't pay their bills.
Yes.
Or voice actors can't pay their bills.
I think that's a broad. I think it encompasses all actors. I think it's. I think it is a feat if you are able to pay your bills through acting. It is one of the. It was my goal and continues to be my goal to do pay my bills doing what I love. I was just playing a board game with a couple of friends, and they were like, "What is the dream?" And I was like, "To do what I love and be able to pay my bills with it." And I think I just said that to Keith earlier as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think the new American dream in general. Just in modernity, it's less about nuclear family and owning a house and all these things. Like, those are nice if you can do them, but what people really want, I think, in our generation is just to not have to spend 40 hours a week at a job we hate. Like, if we can somehow be our own boss on some level, some sort of thing like that, like a gig economy, your own business, something like that. Those people seem to be the happiest from what I've seen.
Yeah, I definitely have noticed that. And then there's, like you said, nothing wrong with that traditional nuclear idea of a family and life and things like that. But I've just even noticed through people, even later in like my dad's life, who had traditionally, he worked as an HVAC repairman, you know, working some pretty, commuting into the city every day, dealing with, you know, shitty life circumstances, and then later in life making a career-ish hobby out of like his passion for DVDs. Like,
that's awesome.
Never seen the man more happy in my life than like collecting and having commentating like opinions about DVDs. And so like the prospect of him working in like some sort of capacity like that was his post retirement. Like that's what he wanted to do more of. And I'm like, I think it was 20 in the 2010 era. I don't know how much life is there in DVDs and Blu-rays, but bless his heart. But yeah, for sure, I definitely see people who are super and there's just the option to do it more so. And even for like a voice acting perspective, I think it's really accessible for people to try these things in the gig economy of things. You can buy $100 mic and an interface for $80, and if you have the computer in a room, it's like, you could probably make some money doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to actually now ask you, because you were talking about, obviously, I mean, Full Metal Alchemist is a pretty prominent point in your life, I would say. Mm-hmm. It's one of the first things I knew you from, and being that young in your career and having an opportunity like that, I have to imagine, number one, you didn't know much about what that was going to amount into. I can't imagine you knew what the impact that would have, probably being by most people who are big fans of animes in the top 5. You pretty much hear that consistently in the top 5, like anime, especially anime dubs of all time with, performances like yours. What was it about you at that point? You talked about your fear of eventually doing this, not really having an idea of doing this as a career later, and it didn't become that type of things later, but you had such a sensibility at such a young age for what you were doing. Where did all of that sensibility in terms of making choices and having empathy for your character, especially a character like Alphonse, where there's such love and admiration and sincerity that he has for his brother and for the world and finding his mother, like where did all of that come from? Number one, for you as a person, but also having the understanding to be like, this is how I translate this into a character that I'm voicing. Like, where did that understanding come from? Was it good directors? Was it your upbringing? Was it acting coaches? Where did all that come from at such a young age, specifically in that role?
Okay. There's a few things. I think it is a relevant point that I was grounded very, very often, even at that age. I was just always in trouble for something.
Okay, grounded in that sense. I thought you were like grounded as an actor. I was like, you're very in tune with yourself. I was like, oh, okay.
No, I was in trouble with my parents.
Okay.
And thus I was not allowed to watch TV. And even if I wanted to watch TV, I also wasn't allowed to have video games. Even if I had been allowed to watch TV, we only had 3 channels and one was in Spanish, and I did not speak Spanish. And so I read books all the time. Me and my mom went to the library every week. I read multiple books a week. And it's hard to... Every now and then you see a movie that incorporates voiceover in a way that really puts you into someone else's mind and gets you into someone else's perspective. But I don't think there's any real substitute for what literature can do in that regard. Literature can have 2 people who sincerely want to kill each other and make both of them relatable to you because you're in both of their heads. Every chapter, it's one, then the other,
Yeah.
I think books are really what set me up for acting, namely because we don't get to memorize scripts in anime, We're just reading for the first time, and it's so crucial. The single most important thing is that you not sound like you're reading. And some actors will struggle with it, especially if they're trying to look both directions, trying to look at the animation and also at the script. I always tell newer actors, I'm like, only look at the scripts, please.
Yeah.
Like just pause when it says ... and leave the rest to our engineers. So there's that. In terms of being grounded about the potential of that as a career path, I'll give credit to my old man. Yeah. On one end, it kind of, now that I'm here, I'm kind of like, it would have been nice if you'd been like, hey, I think you could really do this, and you should,
yeah.
But flip side, I don't know. I'm glad that what he stopped me from becoming was like a megalomaniac or a person who needed that attention, like chemically.
Sure.
Yeah, and so I am glad that he sort of inoculated me against that.
I mean, that's super important. I had cousins who were child actors. My cousin Raquel was in that movie Jersey Girl, and like you were saying, a lot of young actors find themselves in a position where either they don't really know themselves, they don't really know what the reality is with success very young. You're on the top of the mountain at a very early age, and to find self-worth and all those things, I'm sure you experienced that. But if you decided to go to college and things, I'm sure you had your own version of experiencing that, being in one of the most prolific titles, I think, that has existed historically in anime history. But I also just want to keep commenting back now. So, like, where did you, in terms of like when in your performances in the booth, the choices that you were making, you said a lot of that came from literature, but was it, you had worked on Fruit Baskets before then? Was that the only role you had done before Full Metal?
I think I did something in Lupin the Third before that as well. I was like some random kid, but it was my first serious role. It was my first lead. Yeah. It was my first of a lot of things. And I think one of the only reasons they could trust me with it is because Al is in a suit of armor, and so he doesn't have mouth movements to match up.
Yes.
So I didn't have to worry about timing. And I need to give Colleen and Mike a lot of credit, because a lot of it was when something just went over my dumb little head. Mm-hmm. They were like, please say it like this. And then they said it like how it needed to be said. And then I parroted them. Yeah. And I was capable of doing that. And, that's something, because I've been directing where I'm like, can you please hit this word? And they're like, what do you mean? And then I say it how it needs to be said. And then they like can't say it back like that. And I'm like, that's fascinating. Because like, even if it doesn't make sense, I can hit any word in a sentence. Yeah. I guess that's some random skill I had back then. But
well, I think it's a skill even now for people to be able to do that, like you said. And also another part of that is the ego to not let yourself be like, why am I being given a line reading?
Yeah.
So that, I feel like that's a whole other part that you must have had at the time to say, I trust these two people with knowing what is right, and I'm not this, pompous little kid being like, I know what the heck I'm doing, So
I mean, I was a bit of a little shit. They had to
Okay.
They had to bribe me. Like, I would get really bored, and they had to bribe me by being like, okay, you can go play Halo with the full-time employees for a little bit once you get through this episode, okay?
Sure.
That sort of thing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was it's a startup whenever there are employees on the clock playing Halo.
Yeah, right. Very much so. That's like the key identifying moment. Reminds me of when I used to see like College Humor when I was in New York in its early days. Just people playing video games on their off time. But was it? Did you identify yourself as an actor at that point yet, or was like this is just something I'm doing when I'm not at school? Or like, where did you get this idea did you just trust your instincts and your directors? Is that where those choices came from?
So, yeah, the way I got in, I should just open with that, was just raw nepotism. Again, it's a startup. Yeah. And so I got to defend my cousin, Justin Cook, who's currently director of production at Crunchyroll. I defend him for bringing on his little cousin, even though I will use the phrase, somebody hired their cousin, whenever I see a performance I don't like. I defend him because he did not have any actual kids who were banging down the door to audition. At the time, they didn't know about any agencies that were in the area. Mm-hmm. They did not have the access to trained actors, certainly not at my age, not that many trained actors. And so it was a question of who knows who at that point, because the company was so small. Nowadays, I think that it would be bad to bring in your cousin to Crunchyroll, because there are so many people who are doing all the work to try to get in, and who are knocking on the door. And so, yeah, I was not trying to be an actor, but I didn't take a spot from someone who was at the time.
Sure.
And so that's what I say in defense of Justin. But yeah, I wasn't, all I did was whenever I got a text message, when my mom got a text message from the talent coordinator at Funimation, she said, "Yep, we'll be there." And then she, after working a full 10-hour day, would pick me up from school and then drive me to Funimation and then wait for me to finish recording and then drive me home. It was an hour drive.
Wow.
Yeah, I owe her a lot. I mean, she was doing like 16-hour days if you count, the 4 hours after work that she had to spend like carting me around and waiting for me and stuff.
Oh, heck yeah, Mom. I mean, that's, I really commend the parents of young actors for doing, it's not an easy thing to constantly keep shepherding your kids to auditions and being there waiting for them to come out. It's becomes basically a part of their life, and it can easily turn into either one, which is like the crazy stage mom, behemoth of things that we hear, or what it seems like for you is you had parents that were really supportive of you and doing this and wanted you to turn out to be more than just like this performance. I mean, you went on to do more titles in your youth and stuff, so it carried through. But at what point for you was it post kind of Full Metal then at that point? When did you say, okay, I want to take a break from this, or did you say, I want to keep doing this? What was the conversation after working on like a big title like that and saying, okay, I want to keep doing this, or I want to take a break, or these things keep coming in and I don't want to do them anymore? What was the conversation you were having like at that point in your life before you like went away to college?
Well, okay, so I should say, it's always been local to me. And so there was never a point where I said, I'm going to stop doing this when I'm asked to.
Okay.
I was always like, okay, whenever I get an opportunity, I will say yes. So there's a point from when I was about 13, 14, when I did the Full Metal Alchemist Conqueror of Shambhala movie. And also I did Trinity Blood right after that with Mike McFarlane also directing that. That's Troy Baker's last anime lead before he moved on to like AAA video games. And for that show, you can hear what it sounds like when I scream as a pubescent male. And it was rough. I mean, people think they want realism, but they've got all these teenage characters. They don't want realism. Trust me. Not anymore. You don't want to hear, young Midoriya do an adolescent squawk any more than you want to see zits on his face,
Sure. Yeah.
People want it sensationalized. They want the adolescent years to be laundered a little bit for them.
Very
a little
true.
Prettier. Anyway, I did that, and I think after that, because my voice was just so rough and like wobbly, and it'd be deep and then high and puberty hormones, I didn't get cast much at all until I was probably 19. And then once I was 19, I was always auditioning for Funimation stuff, but I wasn't getting parts until right around my freshman year in college, or maybe my senior year of high school. And I don't think it was until after I graduated college, and there was this one year that I got it was one season, and I got 3 significant size characters in the same season. And I was like, they must like me.
Yeah.
And that's something I have to throw out there is like, there will be dry spells in any actor's career. There will be points where you think you must be on a blacklist because it's been so long since you've been cast.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like repressing the urge to text and be like, did I say something wrong? And I hear from the full-time directors all the time about them getting those texts, and that's never what it is. People are never thinking about you as much as you think they are. I
know. We all think we're the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so right around then was when I was like, I guess I started to like let myself hope that I could maybe make a living out of it someday. But I was also dealing with the fact that, Full Metal Alchemist is one of the last shows I can think of where the majority of viewers straight up, 90% probably, watched it dubbed first because they had to. There just wasn't a streaming service at the time when it came out. And so you get into where we're at now, and if anime is a pie, it's a bigger pie than it's ever been.
Yeah.
But dubs are a smaller slice of that pie than they've ever been. Because subtitles are faster and you can sort of impose whatever read you want to on it as an audience member.
Yeah.
And there are legitimately, I think, Japanese studios have more resources to throw into their performances. Like, I think those actors probably get a little more time to do what they do. Because we're doing simuldubs. We're trying to catch up with them as fast as humanly possible. So there's some legitimate... I'm not going to say subs over dubs, but I think there is some legitimacy to people who prefer to watch in that way. I basically said sub over dub. I don't mean it. I love dubs.
We're clipping this. Everyone's coming for you right now, Aaron. No, I see what the appeal to the subs. So nobody, put the pitchforks down. Put the pitchforks down. But listen, I'm guilty of that too. Like, even for instance, like Ryan Cotleve is a good friend of mine, and Chainsaw Man. They come out in the subs before they come out in the dubs, and I'm, as a huge fan of Chainsaw Man, I want to know what they're doing, and then I make sure and I go back and although I must say Ryan's performances has made me just want to be patient at this point and experience it that way. He
is killing it. It's astonishing.
I'm so happy for him and everybody, Gabe, everybody who's a part of that show. It's so fantastic. It's such a unique show. But yeah, I see what you're saying. There's a big legitimacy to anime being so accessible now. It's not just like... I mean, you got Netflix, you got Hulu, you've got Crunchyroll. Everybody is seeing the appeal and the love of anime. I mean, we're even getting live action dubs. I just saw today they confirmed a live action My Hero Academia movie to be done by Netflix. This is like news today, so I don't know when this is coming out, like in 2 weeks, but
that'll be a movie.
That will be a movie. I mean,
no one will be able to say otherwise.
They will make a movie. They will make a movie. I'll probably watch it. I mean, but it'll be. I will watch a movie.
That's what they're counting on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You let me know if it's good, if they manage, if they pull it off. I still remember the Death Note live action movie, just seeing the clip, the side by side, where it showed the first time Ryuk appeared to Light Yagami in the anime. And Light's like, I thought something like this might happen. And he's like still all manic and not manic. He's still all diabolical.
Yes.
And then they do it for the live action version and he just poops himself. He whines and falls off his chair and he's like crying. And it's like, why'd you do my boy like that?
I know.
Why can't you respect the source material?
I did hear the Duffer Brothers are doing some sort of live action Death Note thing. I think maybe it's a series as well. So
okay.
I feel like a big part, I'm curious of your opinion on why there is such, I'm going to use this word, and just because I don't know any other way of saying this.
Sure.
Maybe I don't mean it this way, but I'm just going to say it this way. They've been largely failures in the West, live action dubs of things. I know there have been a lot of successful versions of live action dubs that have been done in Japan, where even through the fantastic nature of it, it's still like, I mean, there was a Full Metal Alchemist live action, there was a live action iteration of Full Metal that they did live in Japan, and they do them all the time. I mean, Rurouni Kenshin, there's tons of them, and I think they are fairly successful. But something about when it's like translated into for an American or an English speaking audience rather, it just doesn't hit the mark. I don't know why. Do you have an opinion on why that might be, as somebody who is very closely attached to a lot of these source materials?
I think I've got two opinions. So, okay,
When
you say live action dubs, you're talking about a live action movie that's getting a dub?
Live action, just live action movies or TV adaptations. Sorry, yeah. Okay. Adaptations.
Yeah, okay. So I think my main thought is it seems to me that Japan, whenever it's a Japanese studio, it seems to me that they do not have access to whatever secret technology is being used by Hollywood for CGI.
Yeah.
And there's something else that really bothers me with those movies, which is that they can't seem to find a decent wig. I see cosplayers with better wigs all the time. You know?
Yeah.
There's some very strange looking hair in anime live action movies. And I'm like, what? You could have just dyed it. You could have just dyed your hair, but instead you're wearing this strange wig and you didn't even get your eyebrows.
Yeah.
You could just not change your hair color because, you know, the reason they do all the weird hair colors in anime is because the faces can't look distinct enough. But human faces look distinct enough. You don't need the different hair colors whenever it's an actual person.
I will say, though, when I was a kid and that first Dragon Ball Z movie came out, the live action version with that Goku was basically just like a short haired dude at the time. I was like, I want the Saiyan hair, like as a little kid. So, but maybe that's just an age difference. But I don't know.
That one's fair. I mean, what is Dragon Ball without the hair?
Yeah,
come on.
It is like, gosh, maybe I had a tremendous, I just cut my hair. You wouldn't know now, but I have a tremendous hair identity, and probably a bit of that comes from like seeing these JRPG anime characters where it's like the hair is so like, you know, your character defined, like the most character defining thing an anime character usually has is what color and style is their hair. And maybe that's where it came from me and a lot of other similar kids.
Final Fantasy, I think, really set the precedent on that, right? Like Final Fantasy was like, we're going to take about half our effects budget and use it on making that hair swoosh.
Yeah.
It's going to swoosh.
And now with these, like now with the Unreal Engine graphics we have, it's got its own, it's a character. Like in the remake for Final Fantasy VII, Cloud's hair, there's a separate Chocobo character on top of there that should be playable. It's just like
absolutely, it's crazy
the hair effects. I know we went on a tremendously fun tangent here, but I wanted to ask you too, like at what point in your career then? I know we talked about, you just said like at the time you're like, maybe I can do this as a career, but at what point in your career, you know, if you were given this first opportunity by your cousin, your mom was taking you around, you had opportunities coming your way and you were saying yes to, was there a point where you're like, I think I love this, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing and I want to make this a career in that sense?
The first time I went in when I was 9, I was like, I really love this. But it was just a question. The only question ever for me was like, do I like dare to hope that I can do it? Because it's that thing of, you know, I'll put it like this. I was one of those angsty kids who thought it was better to not try to catch the ball in a game of sports ball, so that if I can't fail because I didn't swing the bat, that sort of thing, you know? And so there's it's kind of terrifying to give your all towards a goal and know that if you fail, it's because you weren't good enough to accomplish your dream.
Yeah.
And so it took a long time for me to sort of gauge, am I good enough to where it's worth committing and sort of risking my ego, I guess. And so, that was always the question. The question wasn't, do I love it? Of course I loved it. It felt like playing a video game to me.
Yeah.
Like it was like a role-playing game where, like with rhythm elements, you know, where it's like you're like doing karaoke kind of, karaoke with feelings, I guess. That is what anime dubbing felt like.
That is the first time I've heard someone explain that in that way, but it is so true. It is like a video game when you're doing like dubbing in that way, and you get that kind of satisfaction of being like, yes, I did this performance in my unique way with all my emotion, and it fit the duration that it is needed to. You know, like it's a very accomplishing thing to have a really good take. That's not like, all right, you took way too long. We got to redo it. Like there's such satisfaction in that.
And that's always the thing that I enjoyed most in video games. Like I loved playing like Fallout New Vegas with all the dialogue options and stuff where you can really role play and you know, spend time with the characters and imagine that you're somebody else. There's something really fun about that for me.
So what kind of kid were you? Were you playing video games and watching anime prior to even like getting involved in this stuff, or was it through the involvement that you found your love for all of this stuff?
I loved video games as a kid because they were a forbidden fruit. I wasn't allowed to have video games, and so I sought them out. Like I was like a bad friend to my friends because whenever I would get to their house, I'd be like, "So, when are we gonna get my fix?"
Yeah,
you know?
throw that Super Mario on.
You want to, I don't know, play games? And they're like, I thought we were talking about our crushes. And I'm like, no, I think we should play some video games. Yes, there's that. And then in terms of anime, again, Justin would he would hook me up. He was very good friends with my dad. They were in a band together, so he was around a lot.
Okay.
Jerry Jewell was also in Dad's band, and he's a director at Funimation now, or Crunchyroll. He was Kyo Soma in Fruits Basket.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Basically, I was around some people who had to do with it. Chris Sabat once did a remix of my father's band's one of their songs.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Accessible? Is that accessible to the public here or no?
I have no idea. I will drop the Peach Truck Republic though. That's the name of the band.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So what were the types of games that you liked playing? Were you a Final Fantasy kid, or what was that type of game that you liked playing?
Morrowind was the first game I got to play. I would play it in secret at night.
What game?
Morrowind.
I've never heard of this.
So there's Skyrim, and before Skyrim there's Oblivion, and before Oblivion there's Morrowind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Morrowind is Uncanny Valley these days, but back when I was playing as like a 13-year-old, I got this computer and I wasn't really supposed to have video games on it, but I sort of like snuck it in and I would play at night, and that world was just so cool. You know, Oblivion and Skyrim, they're basically like a regular fantasized version of our world. You know, if you go in the woods, you get attacked by a bear or a minotaur, stuff you've heard of before. Morrowind has mushrooms instead of trees, and people farm creatures called Bull and Betty Netches, which are bioluminescent floating creatures that have shells. Like they're like floating crustaceans, and there's a whole ecosystem around them, and there's a whole economy around them. People like are ranchers of these things. So it's just like weird world building. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before, and I ate it up. I spent hundreds of hours in there.
Harvest Moon meets Skyrim meets Oblivion, and I guess whatever has luminescent animal creatures. I guess I don't know what game that is, but yeah, that sounds fascinating. Yeah,
it was very good. How about you?
I was
games you grew up on?
Gosh, I mean, a lot of JRPGs. Final Fantasy VII was a very early game, but SNES RPGs, Chrono Trigger, Legend of Gaia, Illusion of Mana. Did I say Chrono Trigger already?
You did, yeah. I just got to check out Chrono Trigger.
Oh, it's...
I'm just now playing it at Rico Fajardo's suggestion. I think that's his favorite game to date.
It's the same character designer as the people who did Dragon Ball Z.
You're kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. So Chrono is based, that's why his hair looks like freaking Super Saiyan 4 Goku.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great game. I mean, I wound up playing all those JRPG things as a kid, and that's kind of, I never thought I would get into voice acting or acting, but I always had a love for games and anime. I grew up like that. I mean, Naruto was a huge influence on my life growing up, and Death Note, all these really great. I mean, Full Metal was a huge impact on me as a kid, and I never really thought of like that love never translated to I wanted to be an actor. It was just like I wanted to be a part of these things, and then later I found a separate love for acting, and then I was like, wait, I can marry these two loves, and that's how that happened for me.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So you decided at some point in college to Well, first off, what did you major in college? Was it you
History.
didn't major in acting? Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
So this got into the thing, which, so I had to graduate college in 3 years. It was part of a deal I made with my folks.
Okay.
And then I had scholarship stuff going on, and also I had a bunch of AP classes that allowed that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to pick a major really fast. And so I auditioned for the theater department. I said, okay, if this audition goes well, then and I get some parts, then I'll be a theater major. And if not, then I won't be. I'll major in something else. And I did it, and they said, okay, we're having callbacks, and we'll get back to you. And I never got a call. Later, I learned that the callbacks are not really callbacks; they're postbacks. They had posted my name for the callbacks for multiple plays, but they didn't call me. They took down my phone number, and it's called a callback anyway. I was an idiot.
Very weird.
They didn't do callbacks at my high school. That wasn't a thing.
The callback part board, I didn't do it, but my fiance, she did it in high school, and it was like that's what they did. They would post, and you see it in a lot of old movies, they'd post the cast lists and callbacks on like outside the theater doors, but it's like, why call it a callback then if you're not going to call me?
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
That's how I felt. So anyway, I wasn't able to do a play my first semester, and that sort of put me in a bind. And so I ended up just doing history because I love it. And I love history because it's storytelling. Yeah. So it was always about storytelling for me. I also did history because I did all the history AP stuff. And so I knew that it would be easy to graduate in 3 years if I did that. Smart. And I honestly don't regret it. I'm still very into history, and it informs my, it informs the way that I write quite often. And I still do a lot of writing. Yeah.
So that's what I was actually going to ask you about. What part of writing, where did that come into the mix in terms of doing writing or script adapting, or are you writing outside of doing script adapting? Do you want to like make your own cartoon or anime? What is writing for you in your life?
Yeah. So in terms of adaptive writing, I actually quite enjoy that. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten to do it for some really cool shows. I've gotten to do scripts for Tokyo Ghoul, Fire Force, Dr. Stone, Attack on Titan, a lot of awesome shows. And you kind of end up, I talk to myself like a maniac the whole time that I'm doing it. I perform every single line that I'm writing as I work it, And so you get attached to the characters, and it feels like really good acting exercise to do it, because when you think about the order of the words and the meaning of the words and the strength of a metaphor and what's being referred to previously, you're flexing all the muscles that you need to flex when you're an actor sight reading who has to figure out how to ground these words and give them some sort of, meaning and background.
Yeah.
So it's been hugely helpful for me in terms of just developing myself as an actor to do adaptive writing. So I've done that for years, all because of a short story contest I won back in the day. And now that I'm finally, I'm sorry, this is so rambly. I had a voice blowout.
Yes, I was also curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that forced me to stop doing adaptive writing for a while because I talked to myself like a maniac.
Okay.
And so I wasn't directing. I wasn't doing adaptive writing. I suddenly had a bunch of time on my hands, and I started writing my own stuff again. And now me and Sarah Wiedenheft, she is Power in Chainsaw Man.
Heck
we
yeah.
are working on a comic right now. We're going to release it webtoon style soon.
Oh, gosh.
I say soon. It might be a while.
Yeah. Can you give us any info on what it's about or where the inception for it came from?
Yeah. So the story is, I'll put it like, it's basically the Protestant Reformation, but with necromancers instead of the Catholic Church.
Oh, fun.
And the inciting event for it is based on this very spooky story that's a true story that was about a guy who fell in love with a dying young woman. And there was a huge age gap. He asked her to marry him even as he was treating her condition for free, even though he wasn't a real doctor. She said no to the marriage, but yes to the treatment, because she didn't have any other options. She was very poor.
Yeah.
After she dies, because he wasn't a doctor, he builds this elaborate mausoleum for her. He could have used that for a doctor, but he instead does it like this. And eventually people get suspicious and they check the mausoleum and it's empty. And he had her body and he was preserving it in his home. So anyway, I turned that guy into a necromancer, and then I gave that girl a little sister, and the little sister wants to free her zombie sibling and get revenge on the necromancer.
I love that.
Thank you.
That sounds fun. So how far along are you? Have you written a couple of volumes at this point? Are you at the point of doing character artwork? Like, how far along is it?
We've got all the character art done. I've drafted the entire, first arc, which may be where it all ends, and that's okay if it ends there. So it's 20 chapters. It's probably like 160 pages or something like that I've written.
That's a chunk.
Yeah, and Sarah has drawn drafts of the first 2 chapters of that. And so what we're going to do is probably get to like 5 chapters, and then we'll start releasing, and we'll also put out a thing that we're hiring artists so that we can start pumping stuff out a little faster.
Hey, I know a ton of artists watch and listen to this podcast, so I guess where are people, just Twitter? Like, where is that going to be accessible to find information on?
Yeah, Twitter's a great spot. We'll probably post it on all our socials. So Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Sarah's TikTok, not mine, because I don't have one.
No, you don't want to get in on doing some dances and stuff? That's not...
I know. I gotta do it, but I don't want to. I'm 30.
Hey, listen, I'm in my 30s as well, so...
Yeah, it's tough.
It is. I mean, well, that's what I find a lot of people who are in our industry having TikToks. I mean, it doesn't have to be that, and I think it's whatever version of fun is for you is the most appealing for people to watch. It's like, it doesn't have to be what the algorithm is demanding. It could literally just be your version of whatever you find fun and enjoyable. And for me, oftentimes it's just like me and my cats. And if that's not going to get a lot of views, then that's fine. But that's what I like making videos of. So yeah, it is what it is.
Gotcha.
So that sounds really fun. So you're going to do it on Webtoons first, and then maybe if you find publish to do physical copies. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're very excited. We're going for sort of this fairy tale over the garden wall kind of style.
Yeah,
and that's something I have to say. Like, if I wasn't in this business, if I wasn't a voice actor, who's been doing it for 20 years, I wouldn't have time to do it. It's really cool to finally be at a spot where my living is secured. And that's largely due to anime conventions, which is weird. It's very strange to have like twice a month I go and work for a weekend really hard. And then aside from that, it's like recording less than 10 hours a week. And that's my life. It's really nice. I'm so grateful.
It's a wonderful thing, and it's definitely a blessing when you get these opportunities to be a part of franchises or IPs that have such a devoted fan base, or you get a character that is so impactful. And I think it's a marriage between getting that and also putting in such hard work as the actor to make it that much more lovable to people to want to come and meet you as the actor. And for someone like you, from me watching on the outside, from absorbing who you are through social media and things of that nature, you also seem like a really nice, genuine human being. So it's like the marriage of all of those things you seem to have and have been and had been fortunate to get those opportunities. But I think people fall in love with the shows, then people fall in love with the characters, and then people fall in love with the performers. And I think that's why, people like you become successful at these conventions.
Thank you so much. That's really kind, Paul.
Oh it's the truth. I mean, I could not know you at all, and it could be the complete opposite, and you could be a necromancer in your lair for all I know. But that's what it appears to me.
maybe I'm a nice necromancer.
Yeah, maybe necromancers get a bad rap. Just because they're summoning the dead doesn't mean they're bad people.
Yeah.
So I know it's ridiculous.
We could use some free labor.
Yeah, right?
I should stop.
God. It's ridiculous. Hey, listen, I played a necromancer in Diablo. It was one of my favorite classes. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Shout out to
That's really awesome.
Yeah, I love him. I want to talk about you losing your voice, because I remember when you announced that seemed like, from seeing that, I can imagine that it was like terrifying for you, and it seemed very layered and intimate. And as much as you feel like sharing, what was that experience? How did you figure out that was happening? What was the process for you getting your voice back? You sound pretty healthy right now.
Yeah.
What was that entire little moment in your life like, and how did it like affect you as a performer, worrying about doing this for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Okay, so it started with me working with a studio I'd never worked with before, and their way of doing things was harder than what I had ever done before. And I was pretty fast at picking it up, but the end result was that my skill, I had the experience of basically, I've been doing this for 20 years, which means I'm very good at it, but also my voice has been pushed a lot. And I guess my experience and skill like outpaced my body, if that makes sense. And so what I did was, in an effort to impress the new studio, I did about 150 cues an hour for 4-hour sessions. And we did that 4 times in a week. And the character was about 12 years old. So it was at my very highest range, and he was constantly panicking, just freaking out. And I should have asked for more breaks than I did. And when stuff started to get tense, I should have said, hey, I don't care about your deadlines. We gotta start spreading this out more. And I didn't stand up for myself like that. And I'll regret that forever. And I will urge people to do that. Listen to your body, etc. Yeah. So there was this moment where I was supposed to make a sound, and I felt this clenching, and I was just like, I can't do it. And then I took a week where I was totally silent after that. And I tried to talk after the week, and it was still clenching and tight. And I ended up getting diagnosed with muscle tension dysphonia, which is basically your muscles reflexively clenching in order to defend themselves against you damaging them again. So my vocal cords, they ended up sticking scopes, and I saw all sorts of specialists, and my vocal cords are okay. It was the muscles that make them move that were messed up by it. And it's been, God, it must be like 9 months since that happened.
Wow.
Maybe close to a year, and I still have muscle tension dysphonia, just not as bad as it was. Not as bad as it was even a month ago.
Wow. So it's progressively been getting better, which is a good thing.
Yes, but slowly. Oh, God, slowly. It's still spooky anytime that I do have to yell for acting. I'm a little bit spooked by it. And I do think my range is lower now. I've lost some range permanently from that, and that's okay.
What have you been doing to combat that or treat it? Is there some sort of routine or exercises or medicine? Like, how have you been combating that?
Semi-occluded phonation, my good friend.
Okay.
What you do is, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can poke a hole in a styrofoam cup. You can buy a rubber cup.
Yeah.
You can get a straw and put it into water.
Yeah.
But the goal, this also works. What I do is I take my finger and I go, looks goofy, but and then I'll do long notes going up 5 notes. So like, what would you do if I just went all the way through?
I would have sat here patiently and enjoyed it, every second of it. And I think everybody else here watching and listening.
I was really tempted to just do it. But yeah, so I do that every morning and every night. And before I record, I'll do that. I also drink Slippery Elm tea, and yeah, it's so good. I drink obscene amounts of water. I cannot be seen without this thing.
And was that the case prior to this happening? Were you a big water drinker, or did that become part of your life?
Yeah, I've always been a big water drinker, but I wasn't a big warm-up person until this. Yeah. And I wish I had been. That's another thing that probably would have saved me. If I was just like properly doing warm-ups, avoiding caffeine right before doing sessions. I've always avoided alcohol before a session. That's a big one that most people might not know about.
Yeah, I try to get as drunk as possible before every session. I try to basically wander into my booth or into the session. As wobbly as possible to really
excellent. Yeah.
No, but that sounds like, to me, I've had scares. I remember one time I was doing an ADR gig, a loop group gig for a movie. It was a horror movie, and it was people like me and a lot of great actors like Michael Sinter-Nicholas was in there, like a lot of top people, and they wanted. It was basically kind of like. It's like, all right, all these kind of big pros in the room with you, and they're like, who wants to do this? And everyone's like, I'll do it, I'll do it. And I remember the first time I kind of threw my hat in the ring to do a moment was like a big, terrifying scream. It was the first thing I did. I felt something. From the first line, I was like, I felt something happen here, and I don't know what it is. And from doing that, I sat back, and I was like, I'm letting everybody else doing the heavy lifting. I'm going to get through what I can. I wound up going to a vocalogist or a laryngologist, sorry.
Yeah, and, laryngologist.
I actually have pre-nodules in my throat now, and I have to go to vocal therapy for that. But it's something I can work through. You got to, get therapy for. But it's to echo your point, take care of your voice. Just because something seems like you have to impress these people, it's like that one moment of you like trying to impress and overwork yourself can lead to months, as you've been dealing with, of trying to rectify a problem you might cause.
Yeah,
it's
and there's it'll be a long road ahead of me, I think, before studios are going to want to risk, before it'll be smart for a studio to risk casting me in something important, because it's known that I'm brittle now. And that's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a slow, there's the physical recovery, and then there's also the like career recovery.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be where I'm at, where I can sort of, to some extent, my livelihood is, buoyed by stuff that I did when I was 12 years old,
Yeah.
If I wasn't in that position, I would have been in really big trouble whenever this happened.
Do you think you would have made it public that had happened to you if you didn't have that situation in your life? Did you feel like the fear of like letting people know about that?
No, I would have made it public no matter what.
Okay.
Only because I needed to step down from those roles, and people deserved to know why.
Yeah.
I can't think of another way to do it. I think Mark Twain is the smartest person in the world when it comes to honesty. Like, he just has the best quote ever, which is just, I never lie so that I don't have to, because that way I don't have to remember anything. Yeah.
I heard that before. Yeah.
I don't want to have to keep track of deceit.
I have to, that's a great philosophy, and I think most people try to live by that. It's a very, I can empathize or understand the people who aren't maybe as fortunate to like have anything to fall back on, to say, I'm scared to make whatever you might be dealing with public, because people might not cast you, and you don't have that buffer financially. It's a hard. It shows even more so why it's important to take care of yourself, because if something goes wrong, you may not have a buffer to fall back on, and being out of work for whatever reasons, or having to give that, it could, I'm sure you even know in your position, to have to step away for some things could be very scary. And you wonder, was it worth it? Was it worth taking that risk to show a studio like, hey, I'm game for anything. I don't care if I break my voice. I feel like it
was not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was super not worth it.
Would there have been a project that it would have been worth doing? What's the project it would have been worth doing it for? Is there one? Is there?
Oh, there are a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. No. Now I'm thinking hard. I mean, is there? No.
No.
I'm gonna say no.
That's the answer. Not. Yeah. It was a trick question.
The project that's worth hurting yourself for should be so professional and so and then the director should be so on point that they should not put you in a position where there's a risk of having to push yourself too far.
You've been PR trained, haven't you?
No.
That is the best answer, though. That is so true. Anybody who cares about their actors and is working at that level would never put an actor in that situation. And I think you're seeing a lot more studios be conscious of it. I've worked myself with studios being like, we want to know when it's not good enough for you. Please do not work past it. And they're even more so like, no, you're stopping now. I know we need to get this, but we're stopping. We hear the scratchiness in your voice. You know, we're putting all of your big efforts at the end of the session. Like, if there's ever a studio that wants to start with like some huge like Super Saiyan screams in the front, and then they're like, yeah, we got 3 more hours of stuff afterwards, I think you just got to walk away.
What they're doing.
Yeah.
And you can start by asserting yourself. I mean, like, could we do this in the other order and sort of, teach them a bit?
Yeah.
But if they fight back on that, I'd walk away. Yeah.
That's a great point.
That's what I do these days.
Yeah. And that's great advice for anybody listening. I think that's much newer that finds themselves with maybe indie studios that haven't had much success themselves. A lot of people don't really understand that. If you're not an actor, it's hard to understand. It's like, how can you understand an instrument that you've never inspected? Like, how can you know about a trumpet if you've never held a trumpet before in your hand? How can you know about what goes on in a voice actor in their performance if you've never used your voice in a similar capacity? So that's why I think a lot of the greatest directors in studios, even on film and in voiceover, are people that have done a little bit of things. I often find the most caring directors are people who have also done acting themselves. They empathize for the performers. Have you seen that with people you've worked with?
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of sometimes it can go either way. Like, I know some engineers some people who started as audio engineers that became fantastic directors, but their route into becoming fantastic directors involved acting.
Yes.
Chris George, Kyle Phillips come to mind.
Absolutely.
How to put it? I think that a lot of it is, you have to have experienced the struggle that your actor will encounter yourself. Yeah. You don't have to, but it's very helpful if you're like, oh, I've been exactly where you are right now. I know why you're having trouble with this because I've been in your shoes. And then you can articulate how you got through it. That's just the simplest route, really.
Absolutely. And shout out to all the people who are doing the work for our community out there and watching out for people. I think it doesn't go unrecognized, and thank you for being somebody who has been vocal about your experience with your voice and stuff. I think it probably will help a lot of people more so than you can imagine.
Thank you.
Who are worried about their voice. It's been we had Griffin Burns talk about his experience with his lungs, and I just think it's really helpful for people to hear, these things happen. Just because you've been doing it for 20 years does not make you impervious to the elements of life and your own body. We all have limitations. So thank you for talking about that when you did and here. And I wish you a very healthy recovery throughout, however long it takes you to feel like you are nearing 100%. I really do.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk quickly about one of my favorite shows, and you did just a fantastic job. It's Dr. Stone. I mean, I'm sure you get this a lot. It is one of my favorite shows. A friend of mine hooked me onto it, and it has all of the elements. It's got a little bit of a Doctor Who meets dystopian apocalyptic world. A lot of intelligence is put behind it, and I thought you were perfectly cast, and even talking to you now, it just illuminates to me more why you're so good in that role.
Thank you.
What was it about that role that you felt like, okay, this is the perfect fit for why I'm playing this? Did you ever have that experience and having so much fun? It seems like you have so much fun, savoring every word that you're saying. What was that whole experience like for you?
Senku's my favorite character I've ever voiced. I was actually blind cast for it. I mean, not blind, but I didn't audition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Clifford Chapin, he's voice of Bakugo is what a lot of people know him as, but he's also a fantastic director. One of my favorites. He just decided I was right for that role, and we'd worked together like twice before that. And so I was very flattered. And he's really, I think he's the first genius that I ever played. And so your only advantage against a genius when you have to play someone smarter than you is time. You can prepare. Uh-huh. And so I read manga, and I watched every episode before I did it. And there were times where I would pause it and rewatch the same episode or the same moment and be like, oh my gosh, he unhinges his jaw. What am I going to do there? Uh-huh. The one thing I didn't prepare in advance was the ridiculously long chemical compound names. Those we all did on the spot.
Yeah.
It just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth my time.
Yeah.
That role also has like some weird synchronicity stuff. So Senku has a blood seal on him.
Yep.
E equals MC squared is written in his blood on his body, which made me think of Al. And then he also refers to a Philosopher's Stone and to equivalent exchange. When he does the blood seal, he brings up equivalent exchange. And I was just like, oh my God, what is my life? I thought that was super special. And then, just the show itself is really good. And my favorite thing about it is that it's a shonen that doesn't have violence as the centerpiece. The dramatic question is not how will the hero overcome their physical limits in order to defeat the new, greatest, most powerful evil. How will we reach our new power level? It is, well, there's a variety of dramatic questions, right? Namely, what happened to the world and how can we fix it?
Yeah.
And I just think that violence is sort of the easiest way to do a video game or a story. It's just the easiest thing to center your story around is war as your conflict. And
sure.
I always respect art that manages to make violence not the center of the gameplay or of the conflict between characters.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. And it's in an anime, I think there's a lot of very intelligent, Death Note is similar, but there is violence. It's based upon violence, but it's very...
And we've got a war in Dr. Stone. We've got the Stone Wars.
Yeah, so those things are present, but it is very emotional and intelligent, and it's where I feel the most... As an anime watcher, I feel the most engrossed in what's happening because, like you're saying, it's not about who's stronger than who and what the fight is about. It's more like what are the moral reasonings behind doing certain things and those things that question you, while also having kind of typical shonen attributes as well. It was like the perfect blend and marriage of all the things that I really like, and it's been one of my favorite shows that I've gotten to watch, and it's a fantastic dub, a fantastic cast. You guys all do such a great job. It's very... Go ahead.
Oh, it's a very immersive dub, I found.
Yeah.
And what I mean when I say that is there are some dubs that have a great main cast, but then there are like moments where the script is just like takes you out of it, where you're like, ooh, that was a weird line. Why did they leave that? Did the licensor not allow them to translate that properly? Yeah. Or there's just someone who I'm like, oh, well, they brought in their cousin for a bit part, or something like that. And Dr. Stone, not one character feels out of place to me. And so I really, and as someone who's in the industry, I'm sitting there constantly unable to turn off my director brain and be like, oh, that they read, there's the rule, the emphasize new information rule. Do you know what I mean when I say that? It's like one guy's like, the enemy, they have tanks, and then he passes the binoculars and the other guy's like, that's a Sherman tank. Well, sometimes if the actor is like, bullshit, my line, then he'll say, the enemy's got tanks. And then he passes it and the guy's like, that's a Sherman tank.
Yeah.
And if they both hit tank, they're not in the same room. I'm out of the room. I'm out of the scene. I'm like, who's directing this crap? The story's dead to me all of a sudden. And it takes you a second to get back in.
Yeah.
and that just never happens in Dr. Stone. So props to Cliff.
He's a fantastic actor, and again, another director that understands what's happening on the other side of the glass. So I think that is why you're seeing such fantastic. You see similar things like from Mike McFarlane, these people who have had their feet in both those shoes before, and it's just like I feel like the people they care the most about the product. And you said you had also done script work on Dr. Stone, so you had an investment beyond being the main character and doing your performance. I mean, was that like also something you sought out doing? Like I gotta have my hands on the pen and paper here too, or what was that like?
Well, Tyler Walker, who got me into script writing and was the first director who brought me on he trained me with script writing. Him and Monica Rial trained me. But he brought me on as a director as well and trained me for that. He's actually was my office mate whenever I was briefly a full-time writer. And so he was assigned Dr. Stone. And because I voiced Senku, whenever he needed time off, they gave it to me.
Okay.
I'll never forget doing the light bulb episode where Senku invents the light bulb, because I got to write my monologue there. And so that was a time where it's just like, it was like doing a play, it was like I had gotten to rehearse. I basically had the thing memorized. And so like, it just, the ball moved in slow motion before I had to swing the bat,
What a rare experience to have as an actor,
it was nice.
Specifically in anime. And I remember that moment very clear, and you seem so relaxed in that. Like it seems so, I mean, gosh, I can't imagine how replicable that could be for many actors to experience, but what a very rare identifiable moment of somebody who's, and it's very much in that character to be that way, like about the, like outside, very meta, like, that character writing the script for what is doing and saying it and knowing in such a way. That's really cool. I wish that was, I guess a lesson from that is I wish more people who are getting into voiceover would take a stab at, if they are interested and good at it, script writing, so they can understand and see what it's like to develop the words that inevitably you will speak and more than likely read only once before you say them.
Yeah, I think something I would suggest that newer actors do is, if you haven't done a voice reel yet, maybe either don't hire someone else to write your voice reel, or if you do, take that and then change it to be the way you would say it.
Yeah.
Take their suggestions and then morph them to suit you, and then also write backstories around each part. Don't just do a hollow, this is my tough voice archetype. Be like, who are you? Decide who it is that you're being tough at and why. And is it because your father wasn't very nice to you? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it will lead to interesting choices.
Specificity is so important, and I think that's something I'm constantly. I mean, I've been you've been doing this long. I've been doing this for 10 years at this point, and that's like always the biggest check for me. It's like, are you really being specific right now? Are you actually defining your previous circumstances? Are you actually defining something you're trying to attain right here? Like it's falling into genericville, as I like to call it, is a very easy and comfortable thing to do. And the second you make a specific choice, unfiltered, you can hear a difference, even if it's slight and it's subtle, but it's so, you can hear it so clearly.
Did you hear about that guy in Nope, the Jordan Peele movie?
Which guy? The tech guy, or who?
So this was a conversation I had last night. I haven't seen the movie yet. There's a guy who did an audition, and apparently Jordan Peele called him after the audition. He was like, "Man, you did something weird with that. I'm going to have to rewrite this whole character just to cast you." And he's like, "All right. Oh, well, all right. Well, let me know, I guess." And he's like, "No, I mean, I'm casting you." But
yes. I know that it's the same guy I'm talking about. He's like the camera guy. And he's like, in the reaction of him, Jordan Peele telling him he got the role, his buddies there too, who did the tape with him. And they're like, "Oh my God. Yeah. It's great. Yeah."
That is great. But yeah, he made a strong choice, and it did not suit the script or the story, but it was real and it was compelling. And that matters way more in terms of you standing out versus 2,000 other auditions. And some of these directors are wading through 2,000 auditions.
Well put. That's make a strong choice. Make a freaking whatever it is. You got to make a choice. I mean, so many people here have said it. It's like that's the most important thing you can do. Just make a strong choice. Commit to it fully. And I think more often than not, even if it's not what was asked, you'll make an impression. Maybe not on this role, but the next one or the one after that, or somebody in the room who got to hear that was like, "Huh, that was pretty good. I'm going to remember that for the thing I'm casting." It's a great piece of advice. Aaron, we have already eaten up over an hour and 15 minutes of your time here. Time is absolutely flying. I cannot thank you enough for coming on here. It has been such a pleasure and a gift to get to know you and talk about like some of this stuff and for sharing everything you do. Before we end here, I ask all of my guests as the nature of the points of experiences. You've already talked about some amazing experiences and some scary experiences in your life, but is there another experience that might come to mind, whether professionally or personally or just ridiculous in nature, a joke you heard, a piece of advice from a director, something a brother, a sister, a parent had told you, a piece of advice that you has stuck with you in life or an experience in life that you think our audience would benefit from hearing, that you could pass down to another generation of people?
Oh, wow. This isn't really like that valuable, but like it's stuck in my mind, and so I may as well say it.
Those are my favorite. Please.
I once, at the zenith of my fame when I was 15 years old, I once had a fan give me a comic book that she had made, starring her and me. And it begins with me sitting at a autograph table, and I'm sort of absent-minded, and then you see like a little hand. I've got a cup of water next to me, and you see a little hand roofie it. And then I drink it, and then I fall down onto the table, and there's like a pool of blood in this comic around, like coming out of my nose. Anyway, next thing you know, she, the fan, is being informed that I've been kidnapped by another fan. She is like, somebody's trying to out fangirl me. Unacceptable. She helicopters or like parachutes down into this kidnapper's mansion. Murders her and then drives me home relatively safely, though quite traumatized. Oh, part of it in the mansion. She walked through this hallway and it was decorated with a nude painting of me, strategically covered by her head in the shot of it. And I just wanted to let y'all know that was awesome. That was really good for my teenage ego. You know, I was struggling to find people to sit with at lunch at that point in high school. And then I went to a convention and someone gave me that.
Oh,
and it
my God.
Friggin' hilarious.
That.
So I don't know what my point is. Actors appreciate gifts, especially whenever they're creative like that.
Heck yeah.
Maybe someone might be a little creeped out if they weren't me. But I'm pretty dark like that, and so I was very into it.
I mean, that is actually brilliant, and kudos to whoever that artist was. And yeah, I mean, I think the fan and actor experiences, specifically at conventions, something that you've done way more than I have. But the appreciation that goes into, like, anytime anybody gives me anything, the fact in it, like if it's personalized and they've decided, like, okay, I'm not just gonna make this, I want to give this to you, like to me. It's like,
yeah,
that means a lot. It doesn't go, I mean, I'm sure there's actors out there who are like, all right, toss this into the pile and then that goes into the landfill afterwards. I hope that, you know, I understand that that's a lot of people are overwhelmed by things, but I think it says a lot about you as a person, and it means a lot to a lot of actors. That's something we're a part of, that the fact that we're a part of the storytelling process, and you're choosing to be appreciative or express your appreciation to us through a gift of that nature. It means a lot, and especially something that is sentimental and not monetary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That was ridiculously hysterical and not at all what I expected, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
As you developed your question, at the beginning of the question, that seemed like a possible answer. And then as you developed your question, I was it was just covering my vision of you. Was that comment? I was like, well, I'm going to have to say it because I can't think of anything else.
As the different ideas float to the surface, you were just like, okay, this one's staying right here. We're doing this one.
Here we go.
Oh my God, amazing. Well, Aaron, this has been such a treat to know you. I honestly, I think you are one of the most sincere and genuine people that we have, number one, had on this podcast, and it is very transparent and apparent in all your performances. And again, thank you for being a voice for people for the health and safety of whether intentional or not. Speaking on the behalf of people with your experience, it means a lot. It meant a lot to me to hear you say that and to express the importance of what you went through. So really, I wish you the best of luck with that. You still sound fantastic, so I know you're continuing to kick butt. We also, is there anything that people should be that you can talk about? I know NDAs always come up, but I love to give people the opportunity to say this. Is there anything coming up that people should be watching or just came out recently that people should be watching? Or simply where can they find you at the very least? I'm
on Twitter. That's what I use the most for now. I'll let y'all know if I ever make a TikTok. In terms of stuff I'm working on, I'm one of the characters in Blue Lock, and it's one of many times that I've gotten to work closely with Rico Fajardo. He's the star in that. And I just had this really not transformative. It was just a cathartic experience because that character is recovering from he's a soccer player. It's about soccer. Character's recovering from a torn ACL. And he's making the decision to run again. There's clever casting. Jonathan Rigg did the casting. And I shed some tears watching it, and so I'll recommend that.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you. I'll be waiting for your webtoon comic to come out when it does.
Yeah. And thanks so much, Paul.
And I'll be eagerly awaiting your first TikTok dance as you cosplaying as Alphonse and Dr. Stone at the same time. I think everybody's going to be excited for that when you decide to make that commitment.
Thank you very much.
Well, Aaron, it's been such a pleasure as I'm losing my voice here from overuse. No, it's fine. Thank you again for coming on, and I hopefully one day we get to cross paths in person.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Paul.
My pleasure. Take care, Aaron.
Take care.
It's very rare that you meet somebody and what you perceive of them to be via their social media engagement and the type of person they perceive to be online. And when you meet them in person, obviously I've seen videos of Aaron, but he seems as sincere as can be. And it's kind of magical, and I see all the way back to Alphonse why he is as good as he is in the roles that he does, and is just such a genuine human being who seems kind of elated the fact that he's still doing this, and the fact that he didn't believe in himself, and he has found success at doing it till this day. It's no mistake why people, not blind cast him, but choose him for roles like in Dr. Stone and want to keep working with him, and even despite having what he has gone through, and his voice continues to work and kill it. And what a fantastic a form of or an opportunity of nepotism. His cousin brought him into this career, and so he was just genuinely talented. That type of talent and sincerity is not. It's not directable. It's not. It's you either have it or you don't. And he just seems like a great, fantastic person. Really, I get so excited when I get to talk to these people. It's really a privilege for me, and I hope for all of you that you've been enjoying these, and we've been bringing on guests who are just some of the best people out there, some of the most fantastic actors in this business. We are just lucky to have people who care. Doesn't mean they have to be the biggest fans of anime. Doesn't mean they have the biggest fan of video games. Any of that. I'm just very lucky. So thank you all for being a part of this. From my points of experience, subscribing, all that stuff. You know the drill by now. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.